A professor would decide whether he wants to proceed with the application or not just by having a first glance at your CV.
There are several platforms, MS Word, Overleaf, it's a simplified version of LaTeX. So many AI tools right now.
Yeah, but I would prefer using Overleaf. It's very simple that you have several templates available. So you just edit on these templates. So the research CV is different from an industrial CV or a CV that you apply to a company.
I think as research interest, you can mention your research interest very briefly in 2 to 3 lines.
All of your research experiences would be in a chronological order. So in the top, your master's thesis would be there as you have spent most of the time in that. And then accordingly, there should be internship and then course projects.
Another very important thing is if you have project report for that, add it. You can upload a hyperlink saying that link to the presentation.
Software skills as well as instrumental skills. So if you have a good set of skills in both, you can even try segregating both in 2 different subheadings. If you don't have a hands-on experience with an instrument, you should never add it.
If I've TA'd for a course, I've checked the copies, or I have conducted doubt sessions, or I've taken classes, just mention all of. So your CV won't be perfect in the first attempt. It might be really bad when you first make it, but you should just keep reiterating it each and every time. Talk with your friends.
3 people, 3 countries, and 1 long Zoom call. This is the Accidental PhDs, where 3 PhDs talk about research, science, grad school, and everything in between.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Accidental PhDs. I'm Alok from Comenius University. So today in this episode, we'll be discussing about how to draft a CV.
Yeah, so this is our 3rd episode of our PhD application series. So in our first episode, we discussed about the differences between the PhD in US as well as in Europe. And in the second episode, we were discussing about how to find a PhD position in US and Europe. Yeah, so I'm Basil from University of Chicago.
So CV is the most important document which you'll submit for your PhD application. A professor would decide whether he wants to proceed with the application or not just by having a first glance at your CV. So in this video, we'll discuss how you should draft a good CV, how to showcase your research and academic experience in a good way, and what mistakes you should not commit while drafting a CV. So by the end of the video, you'll have a very good understanding of how to draft a good research CV. So by the way, I'm Karthik from University of Potsdam, Germany, and let's get started with the video.
Starting with the first question, where to start drafting our CV? There are several platforms. The first one is MS Word. There is a Overleaf. It's a simplified version of LaTeX. We have Canva, and there are so many AI tools right now. So it's based on your convenience, which one would be better for you to use.
Yeah, but I would prefer using Overleaf. It uses the LaTeX language, but it's very simple that you have several templates available. So you just edit on these templates of CVs. Especially there are different types of CVs available, like research CVs, industry type of CVs, and different types of CVs. Select a CV template, edit on it. So even though it uses LaTeX codes, you don't have to know all these codes or how to write a code. You just have to edit the code and add your information to it, so that it's very easy and it's very convenient way of making a good quality standard CV for a research purpose.
Yeah, I also prefer to use Overleaf. It's quite easy to use. You don't need any prerequisite knowledge of LaTeX, and it's quite customizable. You can customize it according to your own needs. So we'll be sharing the links to some of these templates and some LaTeX codes on our Telegram channel, which you can use to edit your own CV.
So if you haven't joined our Telegram channel, so what are you waiting for? Go and join. Link is in the description.
Right. Okay. Last. So if you haven't joined our Telegram group, go and join it now. The link is in the description.
Yeah. So talking about the overall structure of the CV, it should not be very fancy. It should not be very colorful with all different types of designs. So the research CV is different from an industrial CV or a CV that you apply to a company. Also, you should never add your photo to your CV. It's not at all preferred. And also, if any PhD program specifically says that you should add your photo, then only you add. The general norm is that you should never add your photo in your CV. So in the initial part, you have to give an introduction about yourself. That means, who are you, your name, and your affiliation, in which university you are working, and what course you are doing, and the contact details, your phone number, as well as your mail ID. If you have a university mail ID as well as personal mail ID, mention all those things. So in that first card itself, or the first part itself, it should be very clear that you are a student in this university, and these are the ways in which I can contact this student. Okay, then you can also include the logo of your institute in that part itself. If you want to include, you can include the logo of the institute. Then coming to the second part, that is basically your academic background. That is the examinations or courses that you have taken, and what are the grades that you got from that courses. So it's very important you should include your undergrad, that is bachelor's and master's, all the grades that you got, the CGPA that you have from these courses, and you should mention that from which institute that you have taken this course, and in which year did you pass that course, and what is your CGPA. So these are the things that should come next. It's not necessary to include your senior secondary or 10th standard grades, but if you want, you can also add that.
So after that, the next thing is research interest. You can mention your research interest very briefly in 2 to 3 lines. You can first start broadly that I'm interested in this, and then you can go more deep into it that I'm particularly interested in this thing. And this is something which you can change with each application. Or if you are applying for PhD in 2 fields, you can make 2 different versions of your CV with a different research interest. Section is of publications. If you don't have publication, that's fine. You can just skip it. But if you have some paper published, or if you have a manuscript which is under review, you can cite it in a very scientific way. And it gives a lot of credibility to your CV because it shows that you have published something and you have done some serious research work. But even if it's not there, it's completely fine.
So after this, the most important part comes, that is experience, whatever research experience that you have gained throughout your college or university studies. Okay. So in your research experiences, there comes like master thesis, internships you have done, and then the coursework. From the coursework, whatever experiences you have to do a project, that all that you have to mention. So all of your research experiences should be in a chronological order. So so in the top, your master thesis should be there, as you have spent most of the time in that. And then accordingly, there should be internship, and then course projects.
Also, I would suggest that first there should be heading of what you have done, like heading of the project or heading of your title of your master thesis, something like that. And after that, there should be 1 or 2 line description of the project, or 3 lines. If it's master thesis, the description could be a little bit longer, maybe 3 sentences, 4 sentences. But for other projects, there should be a very small description. And another very important thing is, if you have project report for that, add it. Write it in the end, the link to the project. Or if you have a presentation, add that too.
Okay.
Upload everything on a drive and upload the links in that. You can upload a hyperlink saying that link to the presentation and link to the project report. After every, for your master's, it is very important. And even for other projects, if you have a report, add it. Because if someone wants to see it in detail, he could just click on the link and go through your project report and see if you have actually done it or not, and in what depth you have done it.
Also, other important thing is that the conferences that you have attended. So you should add all the conferences that you have attended. If you have presented, if you have given a presentation, or if you have given a poster presentation or oral presentation, mention that. And if you have achieved something from it, for best paper presentation or best presenter, like that, just mention all those things. So
for me, I have made a section for conferences and communities. I also added the communities. If you are a member of some society, let's say I'm a member of
Yes.
Geomorphology Society or some magazine of geology, I'll just add it in there too.
Yeah. Also, we were talking about course projects. So in experience, you can even add course projects other than master's thesis and internship. Course projects, by course project, what we meant is that the projects that you've done during your coursework, maybe as part of your assignment for a course or something, you may have done a paper presentation, or you may have done a group work in which you are working on a research problem. You can mention all these things in your experience. Also, people who have done field work during their course project, you can mention that I have done this 2-week field work in there. Maybe I have done a 3-week field work in Himalayas, and these were the things that I have done during. You can mention what are the objectives of that field work.
So
Also it is important, because there might be they might be requiring some techniques that you have learned or not. Maybe you have done in that project, and that is not relevant, but the technique, whatever you have learned in that is important. So you need to mention there, and you can write that these are the techniques you have learned from that, and that could be applicable there. So
yeah, that's specific project. Yeah, talking about the techniques, that's the next important part. There are 2 different types of techniques or skills. I would say software skills as well as instrumental skills. So if you have a good set of skills in both, you can even try segregating both in 2 different subheadings, or you can also just include everything in skills or instrumentation skills in a single heading. So list everything. What should we list, Karthik? What all things should we list?
for lab skills, I usually list the instruments which I've worked on, or the techniques which I've worked on. If I've done column chemistry, I would list column chemistry. If I have experience with some instrument, like let's say spectrometer, I'll just write spectrometry experience with that instrument. So yeah, I think those 2 things. One is instruments and the other is lab techniques. If you have experience in wet lab, let's say, mention that experience of working in a wet lab, that goes in there.
Also, you should be honest while adding all these experiences in instruments, because if you don't have a hands-on experience with an instrument, you should never add it. Sometimes these faculties are looking into the CV and see, okay, this guy has an experience with scanning electron microscopy, so I can use him for this specific project. So if you don't have the knowledge, don't say that, so that it will be like a dishonest from your part. So, but anything, for if you are applying now for PhD position, but you haven't used the scanning electron microscopy yet, but you will use the instrument within next 3-4 months, then you can add. If you are sure that you're going to use that instrument within 3-4 months before the PhD, joining PhD, that also you can add.
So also you can add your software skills if you have, like if you have learned any programming language, let's say machine learning, Python, all these things. So you can mention all those things because these are very important in data analysis. Like you will be getting results and you will be applying several different techniques to analyze that result. So that will add a good value.
Yeah, not only the machine learning or not only computational thing. If you are good at a software, for example, a graph plotting software like let's say
Origin.
Origin or any software in which used for plotting, or any, even you can even mention that you are good at Excel, MS Word. All these are very basic thing. You can even mention overleaf, LaTeX, because you have used this for your CV making and everything.
So after that, there comes achievements, teaching experience, or other skills. You can either make separate sections for them, or you can also club these different sections if you feel that you don't have enough information to put in one of the sections. So in other skills, you can mention the languages which you know, the languages which you speak. And in achievements, you can mention maybe the awards which you have received, or if you have got some scholarship, some fellowship, all these things. So for teaching experiences, it is very important if you have TA'd for a course, if you have experience of being a research assistant in a lab, mention that very clearly that you have TA'd for this course, mention the course, mention in which semester you have done it and with which professor you have worked on that course. That is really important, I guess. And what have you contributed? Like if I've TA'd for a course, I've checked the copies, or I have conducted doubt sessions, or I've taken classes, just mention
Yes.
all of that.
Okay, there should be a section in which you're mentioning about all the relevant courses that you have taken during your master's and bachelor's. So this will help the person who is reading your CV get an idea that, okay, you have gone through all these courses, so you have a background in the subject that you're going to do PhD.
Also, I would say don't write everything together if you are applying for a PhD position, or if you are a biology major, let's say. So first mention all the biology courses, then you can leave a line and mention the courses in computer science if it's relevant, that you have knowledge of computer science, just mention the name of courses, or then mathematics, or just others you can mention together. So leave some gap.
Yeah, you don't have to
And
mention all other department courses, just your department and anything relevant to the research that you're doing, like computer science and all those things. Otherwise, it will be like your transcript listing all the coursework that you have done. They can see that in your transcript.
also you can mention if you have done any courses online that is relevant to that project, then you can mention that also. So at the end of the CV, you can add the details of referees. So there'll be name of referees, the name and their designation in the institute and the department, and their contact details. So contact detail would be their official email ID, official phone number. Don't add their personal email address or personal phone numbers. And you can mention two to three referees details there.
Also, while mentioning the name of the referees, at the bottom you can also mention what is your connection with them. If I'm writing if I'm giving Professor Mahesh as my referee, then at the bottom I'll just write Professor Mahesh supervised my master thesis, or Professor Mahesh supervised my internship project, so that the reader would know how you're connected to them, or if they really know you and you really know them. So your CV won't be perfect in the first attempt. It might be really bad when you first make it, but you should just keep reiterating it each and every time. Talk with your friends, talk with your seniors, talk with them and see how their CV looks. Then you can just keep on improving it.
So let's conclude this session with this. And if you have any doubt, please write down it in the comment box. Also, you can write it on our Telegram channel.
Yeah, so wait for our next episodes. We'll be coming up with episodes in which we'll be discussing about how to draft an email, how to draft a personal statement or SOP for PhD application, and we'll be even discussing about how to prepare for an interview.
So if you haven't subscribed our channel, so subscribe it so that you can get notified of upcoming episodes.
So see you then in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.